All right, welcome. I'm Max Ukrapina, CEO and founder of Float. We're the only credit app that deals with couples instead of everyone else that deals with them in a vacuum. Here we have Adam Cole. And Adam, you're a rock star in the couples finance space. Please tell us about all the awesome things you do.
Well, like Float focuses on couples around credit, I focus on couples, but rather around this kind of bigger picture work of going from a place where if you're like most couples, you're avoiding the topic, maybe it's a bit overwhelming for you, perhaps there's some tension or even fighting, and instead helping you get to a place where you are crystal clear on your current financial situation, you know exactly where you want to go, you're working together as a team, and that brings you that peace of mind, that sense of fulfillment, like, okay, we now know what we're doing with our money and it's aligned with what really matters to us, right? So I help couples really sort all that out, get on the same page, resolve any conflicts or tension, and that's all I do, just couples.
That's awesome. There's a lot of financial coaches out there. There's a lot of other tools out there, and Float, we went after it because there's a big empty space for 150 million Americans that are coupled up. How'd you fall into this? How'd you find this niche?
So it wasn't a particular linear path. I started this coaching business and was helping people with communication, with relationships, and with finances, but I didn't really see them as together. And I was on a call with somebody and I told him what I do, and he says, or what I did, and he goes, well, what about financial communication? That's one of the top causes of divorce. And I looked it up and I was like, whoa, wait, he's right. And I started looking for content, and coaches specialized in it, or therapists, and I couldn't find them. I was like, where's all the content? Where are all the videos? Where are all the books? Where are all the practitioners? I mean, Amazon has a gajillion books, and I think I found about 8 on this topic. And yet every study you'll see has it as anywhere from the number 1 to the number 4 cause of divorce, right? And it's the number 1 stressor in relationships is money. And it really blew my mind. And in the weeks after that, I eventually landed on, you know what? I'm going to work at the intersection of money and relationships. And for me, it was a natural fit because of my background. I've been a finance geek my whole life. I studied economics at the University of Miami, went to law school at Duke, and I got a master's in tax law at NYU. Before law school, worked as a financial advisor, so I got a chance to see some of those dynamics with couples. And then before launching the coaching business in an informal way, was doing some community organizing and conflict resolution work. Saw I had a knack for it and got certified as a mediator. And so really being able to bring all that to bear, my experience as a mediator in law and tax law, financial advising, and having studied economics, and of course experience as a coach as well. And this is something that couples really struggle with. They struggle to start the conversation, they struggle to know where to go with it, they struggle to keep the dialogue going, they struggle to hold themselves and each other accountable even if they do create a plan. And yet I've now seen the impact of so many clients of when they do work this out, and how not only does it improve their finances in an incredible way, but also their relationships are better than they've ever been because of doing this work.
That's super cool, Adam. You're saving relationships, or you're saving marriage. And what's really different is when 2 people come together, right? They're not only combining or some sort of merging finances, but they're merging their financial backgrounds, right? Their lack of preparation, or their over preparation, or financial health and wellness and education is pretty low to zero in this country, from their parents or from schools. So yep. I think at what point, obviously there's hundreds of different reasons for them coming to you, but what's the breaking point for when people seek you out?
Typically, they are feeling either overwhelmed, like we don't even know where to begin, right? Even if it's otherwise a healthy relationship, but they just don't know where to start, because the idea of figuring out our finances is so overwhelming. There's so much, and they're right. There is a lot there, especially if you're relatively unacquainted to it, or they're avoiding it. Which, of course, there's overlap between these things, right? Like, there's, for whatever reasons, they're avoiding it because they feel overwhelmed, or because they're worried about judgment, or because maybe they fought in the past and now it just seems safer moment to moment to just avoid talking about it. Usually there's some sort of event upcoming or life change upcoming. So, for example, one client came to me when he was thinking of changing jobs to one that was much more aligned with his passions, but was going to pay a lot less, right? And he and his wife then came to me to help them sort through all of that. Have other clients who come to me because they're engaged or newlyweds and they want to sort out, okay, how do we get off on the right foot? How do we do this the right way so that we don't become part of those statistics in the future, right? Even if you have the best plan, or your investment is getting 9% and everyone else is getting 6%, if you and your spouse are still arguing about this stuff, or not comfortable, or don't have a shared vision for what the future holds and how you're going to get there, it doesn't really matter. You could have the greatest plan and the greatest financial advisor or the greatest fund manager in the world. It doesn't matter, right? You actually have to be able to communicate about this and bring your hearts, minds, and spreadsheets together.
When you're sitting down with these couples for the first couple times, are there certain like conversations or even like tools you guys look to get going? You can't really get on the right track in a single day, but there's some steps I'm sure you take early on.
Your instincts, Max, are spot on. And yes, so over the years that I've been doing this, I realized that there's a particular flow that seems to work really well for pretty much every couple, no matter where they're at on the spectrum. And I actually like to think of it as a pyramid. And at the base of the pyramid is learning how to both understand your relationship to money and feelings about different financial related things, and also being able to communicate to that to your partner, and then also being able to understand the same for your partner, right? So that self-awareness, communication, and listening. And so the first conversation I take all my clients through is a series of prompts and inquiries about their relationship with money, how they feel about money. For example, what comes to mind when you think about rich people? What comes to mind when you think about poor people, right? I think we can be very polarized in our society. Rich people are either evil or they're amazing, and that's who I want to be with every fiber of my being, right? And then questions like, what has money been like in past relationships for you, right? If you were ever married or otherwise in a committed relationship before, how money went there is going to have a lot to do with how you think about it now. And of course, the home you grew up in, the culture you grew up in, the religion sometimes that you grew up in. So this is the very first conversation. And for some couples, this is the toughest module in my program. For other couples, they'll come back and be like, it was nice to talk about this again, and maybe we got a little more depth, but we've thought about these things already and talked about them. And they seem, I'm like, okay. And then in the coming weeks, all of a sudden it emerges like, oh, wow, actually, the fact that we talked about this during that first module, now as we actually get into some of the nitty gritty and we're having to make some real decisions where we may disagree with each other, now having that foundation, building that sense of trust and safety talking about this becomes absolutely paramount. And then when they, for example, are talking about their main priorities and financial goals, oh, well, now I understand why you have this goal, right? I used to just think, what is wrong with him? Why is he having that goal? But now I get it because of that experience you had, right?
You go into personality. You have a literal thing on your site that goes over personality, which is super important. your money personality, is that what it's called, correct? Or
Yeah, it's my couples money personality quiz, which, by the way, the website is couplesfinancialcoach.com, and then it's couplesfinancialcoach.com/quiz. And there are a number of really great quizzes out there for understanding your money personality as an individual or your money script. But there aren't too many around understanding what I call your couple's money personality, which means how well are the two of you communicating,
right.
right? Do you know about each other's key financial information? Do you feel like you're on the same page about your upcoming goals, etc.? And it's a super quick quiz. And at the end, I share a little bit of analysis with you from what I've seen with previous clients, and then give you a tool that is particular to whichever result you got to kind of help you get to the next level, right?
With what our customers or what we see is across society, right? Our parents' generation and past generations would get married and couple up, in their late teens and early 20s, when there's no opportunity to build debt, make good decisions or bad decisions. And now we're getting married in our 30s and carrying with it, debts of all kinds, good, bad, and good habits and bad habits. And you're seeing that. And so, is there, we classify it sometimes as like financially dating with your spouse, because you need to have full transparency. What some tips you have for, I guess, going through those motions of opening up.
Yeah. A lot of these tips are similar to other healthy communication tips. Money is a taboo in our society, and so we can easily treat it like it's some alien object. But the reality is, if you want to open up that conversation about money with your partner, be willing to share vulnerably some of your own thoughts, right? Some of the things that keep you up at night and worry you. Ask them questions, be curious about their point of view and their experience. And, don't start off by worrying about the specific numbers and having to make particular decisions, right? Getting the conversation started now and not worrying so much about specifics right away, but just build that rapport, build that sense of comfort, right? If you're one of those people who's never had a healthy money conversation with a partner, and you may not have fought, but maybe you've just never had one, it makes such a huge difference to just have that first one.
Right.
Right. And you can't have 10 of them at one time. So just have that first one and start off some of the stuff I discussed before. Hey, what was money like for you growing up with your parents, right? In your religious community, with your culture? What are some quirks or stereotypes or anything like that, right? It's kind of, I always like to call it sneaky vulnerable, because you're getting somebody to open up about things that are, not what we typically talk about, even with our partners, right, spouses, but it's actually really valuable information, first of all. And then also, it just, like I said, helps to build that foundation of trust and rapport and respect around this topic. And that will help you later on when you actually get to talking about more specific numbers and decisions. Now there's kind of like, you've got this kind of goodwill built up, right, that you can pull from. If money has been a taboo for you and or for your spouse or partner, it's going to take some work to get comfortable and feel safe talking about it. But the return on that investment, pun completely intended, is it's so worth it.
No, it's totally an investment. Your finances are in every single part of your life, and so it is going to be uncomfortable for those people, as you said, just because it's entirely personal. It's your net worth. So
yeah, right.
Your self-worth, unfortunately.
For many of us, we have that association, and it can be difficult to pull them apart.